Now we're live. There
Here
you
we
go.
are live.
Here we are.
Welcome everyone to this week's BlogPaws Cares and BlogPaws Shares. And I have some very, very special guests with me today. I'm very excited on the BlogPaws end that we're going to be welcoming some people from the Cat Writers Association at the conference this year. It was just so exciting to be in discussions with them and know that they could come to help participate in the conference and teach us a little bit about things like journalistic integrity, which is what these four ladies are going to help us with tonight and at the conference. And I know all of you want to be at the conference because there will be a lot more to cover at the conference. But for tonight, let's start with some introductions. And let's start with Alana Grelyak.
Hi, that's me.
That's you. Tell me about yourself.
I do catinthefridge.com, which is a sort of a comedy blog about special needs pet adoption that is written by my cat Crepes. And I have been a writer for, I don't know, about probably the last 10 or 12 years. I've written for lots of different local Chicago magazines. I used to write about rock and roll, comedy. I've been an editor for a technical magazine. So I have a pretty varied background in writing. And right now, my main thing is blogging and also screenwriting.
Excellent. So we can't wait to hear what you have to say about journalistic integrity. Deb Barnes, tell us a little bit about yourself and your kitties.
Okay, well, first off, I started my career, I was going to be a college professor, so writing history and things of that nature was my forte. Got laid off, forced me to revamp my life, wrote a book, didn't even think I was going to blog, didn't even know what a blog was, realized that if you're going to write, you need an audience, and after that, my cats and Z and Zoe's Chronicle Connection was born. I now have 7 cats, and the blog has become a vehicle for me to learn about spay, neuter, rescue, all sorts of cat-related issues to reduce cat overpopulation, and it's caused me to find new avenues for writing, such as writing for Cat Fancy and Cat Stir, and I'm working on a second book as a result of that.
Well, that's exciting. That's very exciting. Let's move on to Layla.
Okay, hi. I am, well, I'm going to just show you my muse, Merlin, who's 20 years old. And this is really where we've been working lately because he's in decline and we often consult in bed. So I'm a cat behaviorist at Cat Wisdom 101, and I've been working professionally with cats since I launched the Annex Cat Rescue in Canada in 1997. Long before the internet, though, I was a magazine columnist for 7 years. For a magazine, I used to write about natural health, holistic health, and that was way before blogging. And so I've been blogging for 7 years. I started off at another blog, Boomer Muse, which still goes on, and Cat Wisdom now 4 years. So yeah, so all kinds of writing, all kinds of advocacy for cats, and I'm really looking forward to. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this panel was to take off from the presentation that I did last year at BlogPaws, which was about, I spoke a little bit about branding and about the importance of professionalism. So this is going to be kind of like I think a springboard from that. It sort of really inspired me to want to do this panel this year. So
well, it's exciting to have all of you. And Janiss, you're also a repeat presenter at BlogPaws. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I've been a full-time writer, photojournalist for 30 years. So that's a long time. Yeah, I started off being a rock photographer. I went on to rock journalism. I wrote a lot about rock bands and went on the road with them and stuff. And wound up in the late 80s being an editor for Rip magazine. And I just went from there. Just like after rock journalism, I wrote about fitness. I wrote about cats and how the cat thing took off. I've been online since 1993.
Oh,
And
amazing.
yeah, and I had my first website in 1997, and I actually was the yoga guide at about.com in 2001. So I've been online for a really long time. Sparkle had her blog she started her blog in 2002, late 2002, early 2003, and now Summer does it. And that's sort of been the consistent thing for the past like a decade plus is the cat blog thing. And currently I'm a publisher, publish other people's works. I have an anthology called Rescued of 12 stories, written from the cat's point of view of rescue cats. And Alana is one of the contributors. And I think there are probably maybe some other people at the Hangout today who are also contributors to the book because I have several bloggers featured. So there you go.
That's really fantastic. Well, the really exciting thing to me is not just that you are all bloggers, but your background and your level of expertise in the discipline of writing. Because writing is dear to my heart. It's where I came from. I used to have a publishing company, and I'm always focused on better writing. So it's exciting to know that the four of you are going to come and bring your experience and your education and background to BlogPaws. So one of the things I really wanted to talk about today is your opinion and your thoughts on the idea that bloggers are the new journalists. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first. You know, Yvonne, this has really been an ongoing debate now for a number of years. This is nothing new. But as the years are going by, I think there is more of a blurring between journalism and blogging. And I think one of the biggest things is we're all content producers.
Yes.
And again, so one of the things I really want to get across is, why does somebody want to blog to start with? What are the goals? And then how can we make those better? You know, the journalists that are, who have credentials, that have a degree in journalism, or have really gone through the trenches to build up as a journalist, have a very different opinion. And I think what I'd like to do with the rest of us here today is to go, well, really, what are the differences, and where can we bridge them?
I agree. So Janiss, what do you have to say? Are bloggers the new journalists?
Well, a lot of my contemporaries, and the ones that are a little bit older than me, like the late 50s, 50-plus people who are longtime journalists, ooh, that's the hot topic with them because they're all like, they're kind of old and disgruntled. Because it's really hard to make a living as a journalist these days, and they like to blame it on like bloggers like watering down and writing for free and all that sort of stuff. And it's just like, the truth is really just the whole format of journalism is changing. And sometimes I think it blends with blogging, and sometimes I think it doesn't, because people blog for a lot of different reasons. I mean, like, some people just want to, blog about their pet, or like, and what they're doing with their pet and stuff. And some people take a more journalistic approach where just like, they really do well-researched blog posts about like, about controversial topics or teaching topics. And so, it's just like, and that's the whole thing. It's just like, blogging is such a wide field, and BlogPaws itself, it just like embraces all kinds of forms of blogging, whether you just are blogging about your daily adventures with your dog or your cat or your ferret, or if you're actually like trying to impart information or trying to be an advocate for a cause. And I think any form of blogging, no matter how you're doing it, or what form it's taking for you, really is well enhanced by following the rules of journalism, which is like, vetting your sources, doing your research, and doing all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we're going to talk some more about that too. Yeah, that's very important. So let me move on to Deb and see. Deb, do you feel that it's fair to start calling bloggers journalists?
Yes and no. I tend to agree with Janiss. I think that journalism is a very traditional form of writing or disseminating information. So I think in some ways blogging is becoming the new journalism, but it has to be done with credibility, and it has to be done with appropriate citing and resources and professionalism. And so I think we have a very big gap between quality blogs that do bridge the gap of journalism and those that don't, and that's why we're having this presentation today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And Alana, how does it fit into your daily focus, the idea that you're a journalist, but you're a blogger also?
In my daily focus, a part of the, what I want to talk about when we do our event is voice. And I very much keep in mind who on my blog is speaking. So for instance, if it's Crepes, she has several different voices. She has her journalist voice. She has her comedy voice. Yeah. And I try to make, a distinction as to whether or not my post is going to be a really silly post or whether it's going to be a very informational post. And sometimes I myself will blog, which, makes Crepes angry, of course, but I still do it. And whatever I do, though, no matter whatever I do try to make sure that I keep an integrity to it. I always check my sources. I always, I'll put in disclaimers to make sure that people know whether or not I'm an expert in this field or not an expert in this field. Mm-hmm. And if it's an opinion piece versus an information piece, I think that that's a really important distinction, because I think today a lot of bloggers, it's more about opinions. And I think even now in newspapers and on TV, TV pundits and things like that, people are very interested in personal opinion. And I think that's maybe where the line starts to get fuzzy, because if you have a fashion blogger who's telling you her opinion about fashion, it's kind of hard to research fashion. Whereas if you have a pet blogger who's telling you about the science behind a certain veterinary practice or whatever, it's very, very different. So I think for me, though, no matter, I do like to make sure that I have a certain integrity and that people can trust what I'm writing. And I make sure they know whether or not it's my opinion or it's actual fact. And I think that's what's an important distinction.
I like that. I like that. And I think that's where we should go next. We should talk about how to create that credibility and what does it mean. In fact, I have read in the early days of blogging, when I was blogging, and this subject came up even then, one of the things that was put out there as a possible way to build your integrity and make sure you were following journalistic integrity was to cite 3 sources. Do you ladies think 3 sources are necessary to prove that that you did your homework?
I don't think we can put a number on it, but getting back to the distinction, again, one of the differences between journalism and blogging, journalism is always about non-fiction. It's about news. Whereas a blogger, they could be doing a fictitious little fairy tale about their cat in their own voice in that kind of totally different realm. And I think that in terms of citing sources, it really depends. I am a stickler for deep research. I'm like insane about it. I go really, really deep, and deeper than I probably should sometimes. So when I see a news story, let's say there's a new popular cat and it did this, and suddenly all the news channels are repeating the same story, almost verbatim, and they're not checking some of the most fundamental thoughts. I don't know, maybe there was something about the world's oldest cat. Oh, well, was it really 26 years, or was it really 24 years, or was it, and as soon as I see a little discrepancy, then I start doing my research. And then I go deeper. And then once I find what I find is the truth, then I'll cite that.
So Layla, that's easy to say, all right? If I'm a blogger and I'm just learning the concept of citing sources, doing some research, and there are a lot of newbies out there. BlogPaws gets a lot of new bloggers, and we try to help them understand what it means to have journalistic integrity. Mm-hmm. If they go to your site, you are a trusted voice.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And then they go to BlogPaws. BlogPaws is a trusted voice. How much farther do we think they should go? Is that enough?
It's never enough. We never stop learning. We never stop growing. This is why we go to BlogPaws.
Well, it is. And so, Janiss, let me kind of throw that at you a little bit. You are also a trusted source. All of you ladies on this panel are a trusted source. If I was doing a blog article on scratchings and sniffings about cats, and I wanted to cite some really reliable sources, I might use any one of you or all of you. To me, that should be enough.
You know, to me, that's totally not enough to use another blogger. I want to go find out where the blogger was looking. I want to look at, like, if they looked at a veterinary journal, like, online articles and stuff. It's just like sometimes, like, I'll be looking, like when Summer is writing about like some cat news or something, and she's doing a full article about it. She'll go in and she'll look at several different articles and see where the discrepancies are, and then she will try and figure out why they're. Well, I'll try to figure out for her why they're there, and which out of these discrepancies is the real fact before I put it in. And I'm actually pretty serious about that. When I was doing fitness writing, I actually went and got I got a fitness certification as a physical trainer, not because I ever was going to physically train, but because I wanted to know about exercise science before I wrote about it. And the same thing is just like before I started writing seriously, like daily about cats, and over the course of the time when the blog was just sort of a casual thing, I was updating like 3 times a month. I was actually immersing myself in the world of cat, cat books, reading Pam Johnson Bennett and The Natural Cat, and all sorts of trusted sources book-wise on cats, so that I was sort of like seeped in this knowledge before I really started writing from a semi-serious, from my cat's point of view sort of blog.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So Deb, for your books, how much background research do you do?
Well, for my books, I don't have to do a lot of background research because they're about my life and my cats, so I mean, that's pretty easy for me. But as far as writing blog posts, if I'm going to do something on declawing or spay-neuter, or what age do you spay a kitten, things of that nature, the best bit of advice I would give new bloggers is Google's a fantastic tool, but don't trust the first thing that pops up on the search engine as being verbatim, and I think a lot of people are confused by that. So that's rule number 1 with me. And rule number 2, in a journalistic sense, a journalist is not supposed to have a biased opinion, whereas bloggers, we tend to infuse journalism with an opinion, which I think is actually, in my blog in particular, I find that's an important tool because it encourages conversation. But you have to make sure that your blog post, even if you have opinion, that you research several sides of the story. Because if you're going to cite me, you want to know that I looked at all different avenues of the pros and cons of the subject at hand, and that I'm just not forcing my opinion in the article. So.
Yeah, I think the whole opinion thing is a topic we could probably do a whole nother Google Hangout on. So let's move on to Alana. Tom has a question for you.
Okay.
It says, do you see your role as a pet world version of The Daily Show?
Is that referring to my blog? Like a pet daily show? Oh, okay. I don't. No, I don't. I mean, my blog, my blog is a little bit more varied. I have 3 focuses. I have the comedy focus, where, I have my readers laughing. I have the focus where I try to help pets get adopted and get sponsored, specifically special needs. And then I have the focus of articles. They're all written in very different ways. So, I mean, as far as The Daily Show, is it funny? I hope so. That might be the best comparison. But I mean, I wouldn't call it necessarily a news show. I don't know. Does that answer the question?
I'm sure it helps. I'm sure it helps. So we have another comment from Dash Kitten. She's saying research sources should be varied, not just the internet. That is a very good point.
Yes.
When we say not just the internet. So tell us what you think, Alana.
Yeah, did you say me? I actually would like to answer this because when you were talking earlier, I mean, I think that's a really good point. I think the internet has made it very, very easy for us to take shortcuts.
Yes.
I myself will very rarely ever use other bloggers as a direct source unless I'm very familiar with their work and I know that they have looked things up and researched them. And I will use them as a starting point, but I will always go on from there. I think if you're writing an article, you know, about something that you really don't know about, I have gone as far for my blog to go to my vet in person to ask questions. I've called, I've interviewed. You know, I think making phone calls is a very underutilized thing these days because I think people are like, let me just Google it. And like Deb said, you know, I think you do need to look past the first page. Look at the second page. Look at the third page. There are so many missed resources that aren't ranked high enough on Google to get on page 1. Look through those and then use those as your starting point. Make some phone calls, send some emails to experts, and go from there because that's what gives you an edge. That's what gives you information that other people don't have. That's why people are going to come to read your stuff because you have information that other people don't have.
I agree. I wonder, though, as we're discussing the necessity to be more focused on our journalistic abilities and our integrity and using the right sources, Robin Mudge is asking where she could get her, or she says, I've been trying to figure out how to show others where I get my info. Is there a unique way to do that? I'm generally in a blog, it would be a link to the source. I would often, if I'm using a source, quote from the source and then link to it. Is that what you ladies do?
Yes, we can actually, it's really important to cite a link if it is applicable. I spend a lot of time on the phone. I am a great believer in if I can get person to person, like in front of me, great. If I can't, the phone's the next best thing. There's a lot of information that gets transmitted and lost in an email exchange or texting or whatever. So I do this all the time, whether it's with a brand, whether it's with a PR person, whether it is a source that I need to, an interview. I do this almost every day. And I don't talk about it, and I don't really sometimes even write about it. Sometimes I don't know. It's something that's really important to me. So Robin, definitely don't be afraid to email someone. I do a lot on Facebook private message. You would be shocked at the famous people I have contacted on Facebook private message. So go ahead, try. What's the worst that's going to happen? You know?
Yeah.
You know?
You know, Janiss, do you do that? I was going to ask you, ladies, how do you get some of these experts that you'd like to talk to respond?
Well, sometimes what I do is I try and find out if we know somebody in common first, and then I can approach them that way. A lot of times I do, and I usually do it by email. I'm a bit phone shy, which is weird because I used to talk a lot on the phone back in the 90s. But yeah, it's just like I do a lot of email exchange. I've actually had to learn a lot to read emails between the lines, and it's just like sort of understand the psychology of like email messages and stuff. So I know where and when to ask, and when somebody's sort of reluctant about something, you have to read the pauses between the lines. Maybe it's just because I'm a writer and I've learned like a lot about like about the white space between like lines when I see people's writing, and it's sort of translated into email. So but yeah, I like I will actually look for a common contact first. Then I will contact the person, and or if I'm actually on assignment for somebody, or if I can find somebody that will assign me like a catster or or catchannel.com, I can use that to drop my I can use that to name drop when I'm like contacting somebody I don't know personally. And I can tell them I'm doing a story for that, and that will also help open a door. Then, especially if they're older and they don't really know that much about the blogging world, they're kind of suspicious. So, if I can find a more trusted source to blog that I can quote or name when I'm approaching somebody that's a little bit more well-known.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Deb, that sparked another question into me.
Okay.
Now, not all the experts we want to connect with are in the blogosphere. So, as Janiss says, if it's someone who isn't necessarily high on social media, is a phone call the best way? Is an email? I love the Facebook private messaging, Layla. That seems like a really, really good way to connect with people. What do you do?
I've done all of those, and the bottom line is I don't give up. I don't take no for an answer. So if I email and I don't get a response, then I'll find them on Facebook. If I can't find them on Facebook, I'll try to find their website and try to find a phone number. Yeah. I'll try to find somebody that knows somebody, or I'll name drop, or I will ask permission. You know, do you know so-and-so, and would you mind if I said I know you and I'd like to connect? We don't all start out as professionals. I'm very lucky now. I'm a published author. I've won several awards. I've written for Cat Fancy, so I have a very impressive starting line now. I didn't have that impression a couple of years ago. You know, It's really easy for me to say, hey, just name drop and do this and that, but if you're just starting out as a blogger, you don't have that courtesy. So
one of the things that we, and when I say we, I mean all of you ladies in BlogPaws, can offer people is a way to connect. It's if you have someone that you would like to connect to, but you're not getting through, maybe you need to connect with someone else. And BlogPaws might be a resource because we can reach out to people on a different level than an average quote-unquote blogger. So we have another comment here. Dash Kitten says, we are all hardwired to respect the printed word. Isn't that true? In print or online, we believe what we read. We need to think deeper. Well, I think we need to do more than think deeper. I think we need to know, as journalists, that the average person wants to just believe what you've put there in front of them. They are not going to go out and do the background. They are not going to do the research, so we have to do it and then cite our sources. So that is absolutely right. I know there was an earlier comment from Tripods, the community of three-legged pets, and I think it was from, I don't know if they could put it up again, but basically it was a message saying veterinarians are another resource to tap into. There it is, Jerry DG Dog. I love Jerry. He's the greatest. Veterinarians, do you ladies tap into veterinarians, and do you have certain veterinarians that are just on your list that you call?
Absolutely.
Or do you like look for a specialty veterinarian if you need to? So
all of the above. All of the above. I definitely. I have my own vet who writes for me. I have several other veterinarians who guest post for me regularly. I volunteer at a shelter, and that's another resource. There are other ones that I know online that I know and trust. So absolutely, all of the above, Yvonne.
Yeah. So, Alana, what when it comes to veterinarians or other experts, you said that, I think it was you that said you don't cite bloggers, but there are certain bloggers I would expect you trust. I do trust bloggers. If I've known them, I trust you ladies. There are other bloggers that often have done some really extensive research, and I will use their information. I will cite them. I will generally look at some of what they've written and check to make sure it's correct. And this is in a journalistic essay, not a funny little thing I might be writing. Is that what you would do?
Yeah, I mean that's really what I said before. I hope it came across that way. I don't usually cite bloggers unless I know them and I know their work, is what I had tried to communicate. So I do have some that I trust, obviously. If it's a blogger that I've never met before, it's unlikely unless it looks like, and I've read through their blog, that they're an expert in that field. You were asking me about veterinarians. Was that
yeah? So do you have a little list of veterinarians you tap into?
I've met a lot of different veterinarians, and many of them seem to be really open to talking to bloggers, especially when I've been at BlogPaws. There have been veterinarians there, I think from the AVM is that right?
Yeah.
American Veterinarian. And they're just so excited to talk to bloggers, and they'll always hand out their card and say, you know, if you have questions. I always go to my own vet. It took me years to find one that I'm absolutely in love with. She's a holistic veterinarian. She's wonderful, and I always ask her first, and then from there she does have, you know, other people she works with, and I'll go off there, you know, branch out from there. But for the most part, I stick with her.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. I think I would tap into my vet also. Here's the comment from Karen Gittleman. I really like this comment. She says deep research and documentation of that research is super important. The sources should appear at the bottom of the blog at least. Not sure that I put them at the bottom. I usually sprinkle them through my writing. Do you ladies do that, or do you put them at the bottom?
Both. I do both. I will link to them, like if I have something like that I'm directly quoting, I can put it in there, or I'll say for more reading, go here, and then on the bottom I'll usually put sources and for further information, and then I'll link to where I got the information from and where I think people can find more useful information on the same topic.
So Deb Barnes, do you do that?
I do it both ways. I intersperse it in the article, and then I also cite it at the end. And I also wanted to bring up, talking about sources, I know that when we bring this panel to BlogPaws, it's in conjunction with the Cat Writers Association, and there is an enormous wealth of talent through cat writers. So you can find all kinds of experts on just about anything under the sun cat related for blogging. And even outside of cat writers, just joining organizations in general and volunteering and working within your community, you really can get a lot of invaluable resources that way too.
Wow.
Can I just add,
yes, please.
Deb and I are both council members on the WA, and I think another wonderful resource is the opportunity to find a mentor. So I think one of the best ways, one of the best ways that we can all improve our skills is get a mentor. I've been very, very blessed to have one of the founding members of Cat Writers, is my mentor, Darlene Arden, and she's a dear friend now. And I can't tell you, when you have someone who has so much experience behind them, and then they're willing and generous to share their time, it's amazing. So that alone is another reason to join an association like Cat Writers, to find a mentor.
Yes.
I totally second that. Can I say that Layla has actually been a great mentor to me. When I started blogging, she was the first person to reach out to me and say, hi, my name's Layla. I've been blogging for this long. How can I help you? And she got me into everything that's been going on. In the direction of buzz and cat writers and all that. And she does take the time to talk to me on the phone, and it is really, really helpful. I'm certain I would not know, you know, as much about this world, because, I mean, the blogging world, when I first got here, I realized it's such a, I don't want to say underground, but it is such a huge network that I never realized existed, and she really helped point me in the right direction, and I think that's a wonderful tip, is to find somebody that's willing to work with you and answer all your questions.
Yeah,
exactly. And then you actually become friends, which is what we all are on the panel.
Well,
it's not an accident, you know?
Yeah, I think that there is a sense of camaraderie within the blogging community, and what I'm learning as BlogPaws continues to grow is that the bloggers do want to do what's right. They do want to learn. They need mentors, so I'll put that out in front of you ladies. I'm sure you'll meet bloggers at the conference in your session. They also need a little bit more of a reminder that basically journalistic integrity has not left the building. And I would like to go one by one and have you kind of give me your top 3 points to help people stay on the track of journalistic integrity. And they may overlap, they may be similar, but when we're talking, I'll start, when we're talking journalistic integrity, I am a very big proponent of good writing. So please have proper grammar and punctuation. Please know where the quotation marks go. If you don't know these things, please take a class and learn them. So that's what I would tell people. So Janiss, what would your advice be?
I this is something that I think people don't think about enough. Is like, really look at what you're writing and the tone you're writing in, and think about how it's going to affect people. Because like, if you're writing to like inflame people or get them upset or something, you have to examine your motivations as to why you're doing that. There has to be a method to your madness, It's just like, don't just write something to be sensational. I don't care how well researched it is. I mean, like, the whole thing with blogging is it's kind of like, it's sort of like on its most professional level, it's closer, I say, to more of an op-ed piece than to like an actual news article, because people read blogs as sort of like, see the personality behind the news, and like, so you're actually putting yourself into it, and it's, where you stand and who you are has a lot to do with like, who your readership is, and don't take that for granted. Just don't think you can just write anything you want and just tell people stuff and have them react however you want them to react. Your readers aren't puppets. Your readers aren't. They're there you're there to serve them. They're not there to like spread your message. And
so,
people don't realize that sometimes. So I think that's something to be said.
That's really powerful. That's powerful. Layla, what would you say?
I'd like to go back to brand. Bloggers are brands. Every one of us who blogs has a brand. So everything we write, everything we put on our blog, an image, the colors, the fonts, the logo, the tagline, everything reflects our brand. So one of the first questions, this is something when someone feels like they're going off track, I go, is this aligned with my brand? What do I believe in? What do I want my readers to experience? How do I want my readers to feel when they come and visit me? And it's so important to be consistent in the reader experience. So whether it is, and again, I believe we should all have a tagline. I mean, my tagline is to entertain and enlighten cat lovers. And every single blog, and I have written over the past 7 years 3,000 blogs between my two blogs. And every single time I blog, I go, is this consistent with my brand? Am I delivering to my reader what their expectation is? So again, fundamental. What is your brand?
That is one of the most powerful messages, I think, that I've heard in a very long time about blogging and, making it, making your words be part of a journalistic integrity approach. So, Deb Barnes, what do you have to share with the folks today?
Well, obviously, everything that everyone said here, I agree with, and we've all had this conversation previously, and we made the comment that I think that if people were to have articles written by us and they just didn't know the names, they would still know who the articles were written by, because we're very true to who we are, and that's why we're all successful. We are very genuine to our voice. We know our readers trust us. Credibility, integrity, all of these words mean something to us. They're not just words. They embody who we are, and that's very important to the brand that we are. And then you compile that with the photos and the proper etiquette and grammar and spelling and quality photos, a quality blog, a quality template to surround your beautiful words and pictures.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Alana?
I think everything everybody said is totally spot on. I agree 100% with all of it, and I think I would add, for me, I like every post to do something. I like it to have a goal, and it's not, I would rather skip a day than post something that I think doesn't match, like Layla said, my brand and what I'm doing, and because mine is kind of varied, mine can be as simple as make you laugh. But I won't publish something if it doesn't make you laugh, if it doesn't teach you something, or entertain you in some way. If it's just like, oh, hi, I'm sitting here today, and that's it, I'm probably not going to do it. I'd rather skip the day. So I think that every post should do something. Purpose, yes.
I agree. One of the big famous blog mentors back in the day, his response to this question would have been very similar to that. He used to say to folks, what do you want people to do after they've read your blog post? That should be something you should think about. What do you want them? Do you want them to go somewhere and do something? Do you want them to go to your Facebook page? Do you want them to what is it that you want them to do when they're done reading that blog post? This has been just fantastic. We are kind of a little bit over time, and I appreciate you ladies hanging in there with us. We do have one question here from Sandy VB saying, how can I find a mentor I can trust? And what I want to do is go through you ladies and have you answer that question. Then I'm going to ask you a final question before we sign off. So we'll start with you, Deb.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question, Yvonne.
The question is, how can I find a mentor I can trust?
And who's asking this?
Her name is Sandy VB.
Okay.
She's one of the listeners today.
Okay, well, again, like we previously said, you need to look into organizations and whatever. I don't know what kind of blogger that Sandy is, but look for organizations in the field that she wants to be in. And like I said, volunteer. Again, you can use Google to find areas of interest, and once you find these communities, then you start snooping around and you see, does this person have a blog? Do they get a lot of comments? Are the comments silly, or do they have a lot of content and meaning to them? Just absorb everything you possibly can, and then you're going to become familiar with who's the top in the field, and then that's when you know who and where and why you should approach someone.
That makes sense. Layla, what would you suggest for Sandy?
Well, depending on, I'm assuming she's a pet blogger, yes?
She's a listener today, and we can assume she's a blogger of some sort. Okay.
Definitely, if she's a cat blogger, I would suggest joining the Cat Writers Association. And I also believe there's no substitute for a face-to-face meeting, and that's why I love conferences. Again, of course, not necessarily, there are others, even going to a pet expo, where you get to meet someone face-to-face. My God, even when the last conference I attended, I met someone in the subway on the way. Oh, are you going to so-and-so? Oh, yes, I am. And before you know it, you start talking, and one thing just I just say stay open and don't be afraid. I mean, nobody is unapproachable.
Well, I think that's a tough one, Layla, and I think that you're right, and it's something that we try to encourage. That's why we have a newbies group both in the community and a newbies group for the conference, because I will admit that not that long ago in my professional life, no, I was not brave enough to approach people. I pretty much, if I didn't go with someone that could introduce me, I probably didn't talk to anybody.
But Yvonne, once you actually did it, it was fine, right? So the message is, don't be afraid.
Yeah, I know, but people are. But I like that message. So Janiss, tell us what advice would you give Sandy on finding a mentor she can trust? I think the part of mentor I can trust is important also.
Well, the trust part, basically it's just if you find people who you admire. Do what you do if you were going to date them. Google them, really do your research on them to find out if they are, in fact, like somebody that you think you would like, would like to get advice from. And, figure out, it's just like blogging conferences are great, or any sort of conference. I also go to publishing conferences. I belong to several publishing and writing organizations locally, where I attend their meetings and stuff, and it looks like one of them has a conference that I go to probably about every other year, I meet people that way. It's just like if I have a problem meeting people, because if I'm in a group of people who BlogPaws is really like everybody's so friendly there. Like a publishing conference, everybody's a little bit more standoffish. I try and find somebody who I do sort of hit it off with, like I know who's like a little bit braver than me, and I've used them as a jumping board to like get to the person that I want to like get to.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
yeah, that's something I do. But
I
yeah.
can understand that. So, Alana, how do you find a mentor?
I think all those are valid points. You know, you find someone, you Google them, you ask. I'm a pretty direct person, so I'll just ask, hey, can you help me with this? I'll send out Facebook messages, and it depends. You know, I jump around between so many projects. Layla's been, like I said, a great mentor to me, and I know I can always talk to her. She approached me. I just kind of had to use my gut. I didn't know anything that was going on at the time, and she seemed like a lovely person, and I got to know her, and I came to trust her. You know, the CWA, I think I saw a question go by from Dash that said, Dash Kitten that said, how do you join the CWA? There's membership guidelines on there. Just check the website and it'll tell you, you know, the things that you need to do to be an associate or professional member. That's a great resource. My husband actually was looking for a mentor, and he's like, I don't know what to do. So he actually went to a local film school in Chicago, sent out an email and said, here's my reel. Would you be willing to help me? And one of the professors said yes. And that's actually how we started doing our web series, because of some of the advice that he gave to us. Yep. So, yeah, just ask. Ask. If they say no, they wouldn't be a good mentor anyway, so write them off the list.
And that is so key, and I think Layla is so right. All of you have contributed so much, I think, to the topic at hand and to the concept that we're all in this together. We are available, any one of us, to answer questions. We're all approachable. Come to BlogPaws. This panel is going to rock and roll. They're on Thursday afternoon, and you do not want to miss this. So I hope everyone gets their registrations in, because if we sell out, I cannot accommodate. The hotel holds a certain number of people. And once we sell out, and you have to wait till the next time. You do not want to wait. You want to meet these ladies face to face, because that's what I want to push the most. Is I agree with Layla. That face to face. I've said it from the very beginning of the blogging world. Brands used to come to me in those early days saying, so what's next for bloggers? What's next for blogging and social media? And I always said, you know what? It's face-to-face, because there's nothing better than face-to-face. All the friends I make on Facebook and blogs and social media are important to me, and when I get to meet them face-to-face, wow, that's power. That's just powerful. So, ladies, I want to thank you. I think there's one last comment.
Oh, this is Booty, by the way, in case anybody's wondering.
Oh, Booty!
Oh, wonderful. Well, listen, Janiss, why don't you start then, and we'll ask one last question here before we close out. And the question is, what is your pet project?
The book, Rescued. It just came out it came out a few weeks ago, and it's on Amazon right now if you want to buy it. The great thing about it, it's 12 cat rescue stories written through the cat's point of view, 12 different authors, and a third of all the profits go to cat rescue, and they're going to a dozen different cat rescues, each one named by one of the authors of the book for the first year.
Fabulous, fabulous. Now, everyone, if you didn't see that, hold it up again, Janiss.
Okay.
That's my crepes on the cover.
Yeah, that's cat crepes.
Fantastic. All right, so Layla, what is your pet project these days?
Oh God, I always have so many. I have actually a few things cooking that I cannot divulge publicly just yet. You're going to have to wait a couple weeks. But they do involve a very famous celebrity cat. And also something to do with shelter. So it will be
thank you.
with definitely giving back in a really good way.
Well, we're going. Make sure you let us know, because you know, we're all going to be waiting to hear about that.
Oh yeah, won't be long.
Excellent. Deb Barnes, what is your pet project?
Well, I literally just today got this proof in the mail, and this is my second book, and I figure by BlogPaws it'll be ready for a formal introduction. It's called Her Prince of the Heart. I don't know if you can see it. And it's written by my cat Jazz, who passed in 2013. And basically it's his memoir as a way to help people with the grieving process after they lose a pet. He kind of tells his life and death story in a very heartfelt, poignant, and humorous way, giving comfort to people when we have to say goodbye to our pets, because obviously all of us know that's probably the hardest thing in the world to go through.
Yes.
And he kind of reassures everyone that yes, it is hard, but they stay right in our heart, and it's just such a charming book, and I'm so proud of it. And I designed the cover myself, and I just feel like I've given birth.
And what is the actual title? It's kind of, there's a glare.
It's called Her Prince of the Heart, A Cat's Tale of Life, Death, and Beyond.
Excellent, excellent. So, Alana,
my pet
project.
Yeah, it's the cat staring at you there with the two big eyes on my little lower third there. It's the Catastrophes web series where funny things happen when cats appear. We do a web series usually with weekly episodes. We try to do weekly episodes where we feature always rescued cats, and we very frequently get to use cats that are available for adoption. And we promote topics in adoption, and we do it through a humorous way. And you can check it out on youtube.com/catcatastrophes. And I see Joe the Cat is here. I'm very excited to see Joe the Cat. I know Joe the Cat's a fan of ours. I always appreciate that. So, yeah, please check out our web series. We're trying to make it grow.
So I'm going to sign off with a last comment. Claude DiVita says, this is just a preview of what you will get at the conference, and how right she is. I hope to see everyone listening at the conference. For BlogPaws, our pet project is you. Every single one of you is our pet project. We are approachable. You may email me anytime, Yvonne@blogpaws.com, and I promise I will respond. But in the meantime, we're working hard on the conference. We are just, excuse me, we're so excited these ladies are going to be there. I just cannot tell you how excited I am about that. I thank you, ladies, very, very much. This will be up on YouTube very shortly. Do share, and time to sign off.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.